listening to the Baumbastic Podcast with Andrew Ellis on Inside Arkansas.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Baumbastic Podcast presented by Inside Arkansas and hosted by Andrew Ellis. It is Saturday. It's about 7:15, and the Arkansas Razorbacks just picked up their 9th win of SEC play. They improved to 9-1 in league play. They knock off the Missouri Tigers in the series opener 21-3. No, these teams did not play football, and thank God they didn't for the Arkansas Razorbacks, because it has not gone well for them in football against Missouri. But it went very well for the Hogs in baseball. Like I said, they get the job done to start the series, which was delayed. You know, this is Saturday night. We're just now starting the series. LSU and Oklahoma have already finished their series for the weekend, and the Hogs are just now getting theirs started. And the bad weather was kind of an omen for how this was going to go. This was ugly. Like, I'm almost at a loss for words. Not actually at a loss for words, because I'm about to rattle off a few thousand for you guys here, but that was ugly. Like, there was a point. It didn't always start off like it was just a complete, no contest from the beginning. Like, there was a stretch there early in the game where it was kind of competitive, kind of back and forth, and you're like, okay, we got something here. Hogs actually took a couple innings to get really going on the offensive end. But Missouri, man, they're 0-9. They're now 0-10 in SEC play, and they look like an 0-10 in SEC type of team. Of course, we knew this coming in. If you listen to the preview pod we did the other day, we knew Missouri was really bad. We knew that it was going to take Arkansas really playing down to their competition for them to run into trouble in this series, let alone like drop the series. And we'll see. I mean, there's 2 games left. I don't want to put the cart before the horse here, but I think you guys can all agree if you watch that game, this team sucks. It actually kind of offended me as a lover of baseball, as someone who, loves the game. And I was so excited to watch the Diamond Hogs play today. And it was still cool. Like, I still had a lot of fun watching the game. I'm never going to complain about baseball, and I'm certainly never going to complain about wins. We say that a lot on this show. But it actually, there was a point there in like the 5th, 6th inning where it started to really offend me that we were watching this unfold in front of us. But like I said, the Hogs, good to see them play well. They finished 14 of 33 at the plate, swung the bats well. This is a Razorback team that, as you guys know, is basically top 2 or 3 in every hitting category in the SEC. Felt like against what is the worst pitching staff in the SEC, this might be a chance for Arkansas to pad some stats, and they certainly did that today. Also worth noting, by the way, Georgia, who is the other team that's been unanimously 1-2 in every hitting category in the SEC, they have now dropped the first 2 games of their series in Austin against number 5 Texas, who's pretty damn good themselves. So as Georgia is kind of, I don't want to say coming down to earth offensively, but they're playing an actual opponent this weekend. So you could see if Arkansas rattles off a couple more games like this, by the end of the weekend, we could look up after what will be 4 weeks of SEC play. Arkansas might be number 1 in some key hitting categories, especially in conference games. And so not that really matters. Not something that we strive for, like, hey, after 4 weeks in SEC play, we want our numbers to be this, but it is just something worth noting and something to monitor. Let's jump into a quick little rundown of the action. Again, it started off kind of competitive. There was a stretch in this game where I wasn't even 100% sure if Arkansas was going to run rule these guys. But let's talk about what all happened here. And so Zach Root gets the ball for Arkansas on the mound. Got to be honest, not the best Zach Root start, and there's probably a few things that contributed to that. One, he was pitching with a lead and a hefty lead for a couple of those innings, but kind of had that pitching with the lead mentality. Gave up a couple hits here. I believe he finished with 3 hits on the afternoon. Did walk a couple guys. Did also hit a guy. Ends up giving up 3 runs in 5 innings. But Arkansas, was clean. I think he was 6 up, 6 down to start the game. So Arkansas strikes first in the bottom of the 1st inning. Charles Davalon with a really good at bat. Starts it off 3-0, works back into the count 3-2, takes some borderline strikes, like good pitches that you're not going to take ahead in the count. Ends up hitting a base hit to left field. Davalon, by the way, ends up in this game, I believe, 1 for 4, 1 for 5. One of the only Razorbacks that played in this game, I think it was just him and Michael Anderson, who we'll get to in a minute, that did not score a run. So Charles Davalon, who leads the SEC in runs scored, somehow did not score a run. In the game, Arkansas scores 21 runs as a team. So that's just kind of a weird thing. You never know what you're going to see when you go to the yard each day. Davalon actually didn't end up coming around to score in this inning because Vahiva Lloyd grounds into a fielder's choice. And then there were a pair of walks and a couple hit batters that provided the first 2 runs of the inning. in this top or in the bottom of the first inning. It was Arkansas's 3 Hawaiians who provided all 3 of the outs. You had Vahiva Aloy ground into a fielder's choice, Kahio Aloy strike out, and then ultimately Nolan Souza, who struck out 2 stranded the bases loaded. So Arkansas gets 2, but again, you're kind of a little bit frustrated. You leave a couple ducks on the pond. I tweeted at one point in this game, Arkansas's Hawaiian hitters were 0 for 7 with 6 strikeouts, and the rest of the lineup was 8 for 12. So, in this cold weather, and by the way, if you weren't able to watch the game, it was ugly. The cameras were very fuzzy, wet droplets everywhere. Like it was, you could tell that this game was played in some rough conditions, and you could kind of tell by the way this game was playing out. But like I said, Arkansas starts off 2-0 in the bottom of the first inning. Root comes back out in the second inning, 3 up, 3 down. Looked like we were just going to get classic Zach Root. This is a guy who's coming off of 7 2/3 scoreless innings in Nashville, through a complete game, 7 innings against South Carolina, only allowing 2 runs. So came into this game feeling really good, has 2 really good innings to start it. Then he runs into a little bit of trouble there in the top of the third inning. Arkansas was held scoreless in the second inning, their only scoreless inning of the day. And so again, you see the final score, and of course it's, it wound up getting out of hand, but early in this game, it kind of took Arkansas a while to really put their foot on the gas. But in the top of the third, he allows a 1-out double to left to the Missouri catcher, ends up allowing a walk, and then gives up a double down the left field line, which scored 1 run, put runners on second and third, and then they get an RBI ground out, which I believe he made the play. It was a 1-3 ground out. So that ties the game up at 2. I had actually tweeted something about how bad Missouri was, and I was like, Missouri sucks, or I don't remember what I said, but someone after they tied it up was tweeting at me like, oh, you jinxed it, man. You jinxed it. Now we're in a dogfight, which I thought was funny. Hogs got the lead right back in the bottom of the third inning. Logan Maxwell hits a home run to right field, his 9th home run of the year, and this was a no-doubter. The wind was kind of blowing left field to right field, so this ball got a little bit of help, but I mean, this was a home run that was going to go out no matter what. Just kind of gets an elevated fastball, put some good backspin on it. Really good swing from Logan Maxwell, who, by the way, now has 9 home runs on the year. Also wound up walking 3 times in this game, so really good stuff from him. Brent Iredale follows with a single to third base. Maybe could have been ruled an error. There's another play later in this game that I thought was similar, where it was hit to third base. Guy maybe could have made the play, but it was hit hard. They give him a single, no big deal. Cam Kojal follows with a base hit to right field. The first of 4 hits for Cam Kojal in this game. Guy was on fire, ended up driving in 5 runs in this game. And it was Ryder Helfrich who drove in Iredale with a double down the left field line to make it a 4-2 game. Ryder Helfrich went 2 for 2 in this game, also drew a walk. I believe he reached in all of his plate appearances. Really good stuff to see out of him. Arkansas wound up stranding the bases loaded in this inning again. So again, Arkansas now we're after 3 innings. It's 4-2. Arkansas, you're clearly like, okay, they're probably going to win this game, but still it's kind of competitive. Like Missouri's still kind of hanging in there a little bit. Arkansas gets the 2 runs in the third inning. Root came out, and you guys know, common theme. I really love when your team scores for your pitcher to go out there and put up a 0. I feel like it's always a big deal. Zach Root did that in the 4th inning, comes out, gets 2 quick outs, ends up hitting a dude, and then gets a quick ground out. And then it was in the bottom of the 4th when things kind of started to unwind here. So, okay, I want to talk about this for a second. So Missouri, on top of just being bad, I thought they made some weird decisions in this game. Once I saw their bullpen, I felt differently about this, but their starting pitcher, forgive me if I'm forgetting this dude's name. I'll pull it up here in a second. Their starting pitcher, who started off, a little bit rough, walks 2 dudes in the first, hits 2 dudes in the first, was really struggling with command, wound up kind of battling through 3 innings, and he's given up 4 runs, but you're facing a really good offense. He's kind of hanging in there. He had left some runners stranded, and so he was not good by any means. He came into this game with like an 80 ERA. I felt like they should have pulled him after 3. He was at like 80 pitches. I felt like you should have maybe pulled him. It's 4-2. Like, it's not like this game's out of hand. You remember when Portland played Arkansas and it was like 9-0 after 2 innings, and they just kind of left their starter out there, and they were like, hey, we're just going to see if this guy can eat up 5 innings. He ended up going like 5 innings and giving up like 12 runs or something crazy like that. But they had basically conceded the game and basically were like, hey, just let this guy eat up some innings. Let's let him fulfill his pitch count, whatever. I didn't think Missouri should have done that in this situation. It was a 4-2 game. Like, you're kind of, I don't want to say like you're in the game, because of course you end up losing 21-3, but they left their starting pitcher kind of out to dry out there. Guy's name was Caden Jacoby, by the way. I had written that down in my notes. So anyways, this is where things kind of unravel here in the bottom of the fourth inning. They had pitchers up and moving in the third and had pitchers up and moving in the fourth, and finally eventually made a change. But by that point, the damage had already been done. So Vahivo Aloy works a leadoff walk. I believe that was the only time he reached base in this game. And Brent Iredale hits a 2-run home run with 2 outs, 388 feet, 105 miles an hour off the bat. It was a 3-2 breaking ball that maybe was a strike, but actually was like a pretty ideal location. Like if you're in a 3-2 count as a pitcher and you're throwing a slider to a right-handed batter, I don't know if he could have located this any more ideally. Like his catcher probably would have given him the little tap of like, hey, good location. But sometimes you face a really good hitter. Brent Iredale, good to see him get going in this game because he's a guy that Arkansas could certainly use some juice out of. Again, good to see him. He hits his 10th home run of the year, by the way. Also makes it a 6-2 game. And so you're starting to get that separation. Arkansas now officially has 2 hitters with double-digit home runs. Logan Maxwell close behind. I mean, it's crazy that last year Arkansas finished the year with 1 guy in double-digit for home runs. That will not be the case this year. In fact, there's going to be a few more that will join those guys. So again, 6-2 at this point. And then Arkansas rattles off 4 straight singles. Cam Kogel does what he does. Ryder Helfrich, good piece of hitting, just kind of bloops one over there. And then Nolan Souza, who had struck out twice in this game to this point. I'm getting tweets about how he sucks and how they need to bench him and all that. Really good AB, falls behind early in the count, works his way back. I believe it was either 2-2 or 3-2, smokes a single up the middle. That makes it a 7-2 game. Souza wound up stealing second base. Again, this is all with 2 outs, by the way. Because again, Vahivo Aloy works the leadoff walk. Next 2 guys get out. You kind of think this pitcher, who, like I said, was battling, might have a chance to get out of this, but then it just kind of unravels from there. So all of this is going on. It was 4-2 with 2 outs. All of a sudden, now it's 7-2 after the Nolan Souza single. Then he steals second base. Justin Thomas hits a base hit up the middle. Really good swing on a 1-1 count. Just goes right up the middle. The exact kind of swing you want in the batting cage. Justin Thomas, nice swing up the middle. Makes it a 9-2 game. And so that's where things kind of unraveled. And from there, that's really where the game ended, basically. Root comes back in the 5th inning, does give up a run. So I like to have the 0 after you have the big inning, but I'll trade 1 run for 3 outs whenever we're up 9-2. Root issues a leadoff walk, and then it was a double down the left field line, which led to a sac fly, which made it a 9-3 game. Ended up getting a fly out and a punch out to end it. Let me pull up the box score real quick because I want to just talk about Zach Root's outing real quick. You see the numbers there. 5 innings pitched at the bottom here. I'm looking at 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Like solid numbers. Ends up throwing 98 pitches. Thought there might be a pitch count on Zach Root, considering that he's throwing a day later than he usually is. And then Arkansas's got a very big series next week against Georgia, where he would, in all likelihood, be throwing on Friday night. Thought Arkansas might have the pitch count. Not to mention you have 2 7-inning games tomorrow. He ends up throwing 98, but they weren't a ton of high-stress innings. I ultimately was fine with it. 59 strikes in 98 pitches, kind of uncharacteristic for Zach Root. So he had just the 2 walks, did hit another guy. But I thought he was, behind in the count more often than we've really seen him. The changeup, which is usually the difference maker for him, I don't know if he had great feel for it. Of course, the conditions were just horrible for pitching. Like, I don't know if any pitcher, although the next 2 Arkansas pitchers did pretty well. I don't know if any pitcher necessarily would have had an ideal start in these conditions. And there were times where Root's out there throwing and it's just like a monsoon out there. I mean, you couldn't kind of tell that there was some mist going on, but ultimately, I thought he got the job done. Didn't have his best stuff, but I think if you're going to have an outing where you don't have your best stuff, might as well be in a game where you're playing a fake opponent who is not a real SEC school, and you end up winning 21-3. And so definitely not going to be an outing for Zach Root that we're going to bookmark and remember and be like, hey, great one for the catalog. But ultimately ends up getting the job done in this one. And it was the bottom of the 5th where Arkansas really breaks it open even more. You get 2 walks to Logan Maxwell and Kahio Aloy. And then one of the funniest plays I've seen in a while. So I want to make sure I tell the story of this correctly. Runners on first and second with 1 out. And it's a 9-3 game, but at this point doesn't really matter. Ground ball goes right to the third baseman. I believe it was Brent Iredale that hit it. Ground ball right to the third baseman. Runners on first and second, 1 out. Logan Maxwell's at second base, decides to just go back to second base. You know, and like when you're watching a Little League game and you have the runner that like doesn't really know the rules and he like sees the guy, it's like a force play. He has to go, but he's like, no, I'm just going to stay at my bag. Logan Maxwell pretty much did that in an SEC Division I baseball game, and it somehow worked. The third baseman, rather than just stepping on the bag and throwing a first, maybe trying to get the double play that way, I don't know if he was trying to get Logan Maxwell on a rundown, throws the ball to second base, except it goes over the second baseman's head, ends up being an error. Everyone's safe. And it was just that kind of day for Missouri at the office. Cam Kogel follows with an RBI double or a two-run double with the bases loaded. Good opposite field swing. Helfrich and Souza both get walked. Those drive home another run. And then Justin Thomas, I mentioned there was a play at third base that I thought maybe could have been ruled an error. Ends up hitting what they ruled a single kind of at the third baseman. It was hit pretty well. That ends up driving home two more runs because it kind of ricocheted weird off the third baseman. So that makes it a 14-3 game. Missouri, by the way, the worst fielding team in the SEC. They finished this game with just 2 errors, but really, really did not play good defense in this game at all. And so it's 14-3 after 5 innings. And guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I usually take notes during these games, and I did that for the first 5 innings. Try to be a professional. If you listen to the pod, you know that it's not necessarily the most structured and bullet point, like detailed pod of all time. But I do, for when I'm doing these game recaps, I try to write down, hey, first inning, this happened. Second inning, this happened. So I at least have some sort of order to bring to the podcast. At this moment, this is where I stopped taking notes. I just was like, this game, if this game is not taking itself seriously, I'm not going to take it seriously. And so at that point, I stopped taking notes. But do want to note, Dylan Carter came out, shoved. I think I'll pull up the box score real quick. He throws 11 pitches, 9 for strikes, strikes out a couple. Good to see. I mean, you're a senior. You're getting the ball in a 14-3 game in the middle of 43-degree weather. It's a low leverage situation. Would have been very easy for Dylan Carter to kind of come in and mail it in, but I appreciate him and his willingness to just always take the ball whenever it's asked. Will McIntyre comes in after him, does more of the same, 13 pitches, 9 strikes, gets a couple strikeouts. Really good stuff from both of those senior right-handers, in-state kids. And let's talk about the hitting numbers here. You see Charles Davalin up there. Started it off with a single for Arkansas. That's pretty much all he did today. Did get hit by 1 pitch, which I believe drove in a run. Vahiva Aloy and Kahio Aloy, the only starters in this game for Arkansas that did not have a base hit. I believe that happened in at least one of the games against Vanderbilt, because I think I remember saying it was the first time all year it happened where both Aloy brothers were held hitless. Happened in this game, of course. This is the game. If you're going to have a hitless game for 2 of your top hitters, this would be the game to do it. The box score is also jumbled up because by the 6th inning, Arkansas started just mixing in. Like Michael Anderson comes in to pinch hit. Carson Bowles comes off the bench, rips a single up the middle. Gabe Frazier comes in and pinch runs for Brent Iredale in the 6th inning, and then wound up getting an at-bat in the 6th inning. Ended up driving home a run with a bases-loaded walk. Again, just that kind of day. Cam Kogel goes 4 for 5. After he started off 4 for 4, ended up striking out in his last at-bat. When he was 4 for 4, he had raised his batting average to 400, which took over Charles Davalin for the team lead. According to these numbers here, which are never exactly, these aren't exactly, you can't take these at face value all the time. But if they are accurate, it shows him at 396, Davalin at 394. I believe Cam Kogel is your new batting average leader for the Arkansas Razorbacks. Good to see from him. I mean, dude's just been super consistent. Drives in 5 runs, scores 3, big time stuff. Love to see Ryder Helfrich going 2 for 2. Nolan Souza goes 1 for 3. Did work, I believe it was 2 walks in this game. I felt like there was another one. I don't know. I guess it was only 2 walks from Nolan Souza. Did drive in 3 runs with those 2, with the 2 walks and the base hit. Justin Thomas had a couple singles, drove in 4 runs. Wow, did not realize that. Again, pretty much everyone did their job and did it well today. So Arkansas takes game 1. There's your recap. Hope you enjoyed that one. Looking ahead to tomorrow, of course, Arkansas is going to play 2 7-inning doubleheaders, which always kind of sucks. Like, it always sucks, especially in a series like this where you're very much expected to sweep. Usually, my rule of thumb is when you have a doubleheader in the SEC, that almost always leads to a split. And so depending on who you are, if you're the team, sometimes you're okay with it. But a lot of times if you're the team that kind of needs to win both games or should win both games, it's kind of a disadvantage to you. That being said, Arkansas should be able to score at will in this Missouri Tiger pitching staff, which is just not very good. And going back to my point earlier about them leaving their starting pitcher out to kind of dry out there, kind of makes sense when you see some of the bullpen arms they went with. Those dudes are really bad. By the way, I didn't do the rundown for Arkansas' 6th inning where they scored 7 runs. They scored 7 runs on 2 hits. I just wanted to point this out real quick. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 walks and 2 hit batters in the inning. I mean, good Lord. Like this is, I don't know who the James Naismith of baseball is, frankly. I was watching the game with my girlfriend and she was like, who invented baseball? And I was like, the hell if I know. I probably should have looked it up there, especially since I knew I was going to come on the pod and reference it. But whoever the James Naismith of baseball is had to be looking at this and just shaking his head, man. And it kind of, if you're an SEC team that takes yourself seriously, I just don't understand how you can let this happen. Like, I really feel like Missouri should honestly forfeit the 2 games tomorrow. I'd have more respect for them as a program if they came out and were just like, we're not playing these games. We're just going to go ahead and get out of town. Weather's bad. We've embarrassed ourselves enough. We're out of here. So having said that, the Hogs better come out and take care of business tomorrow. Like I said, 2 7-inning games. Don't love that because it just changes the dynamics of the series. But from a pitching standpoint, the Hogs should be set up pretty well. Of course, you've got Gabe Gackel and Landon Beidelshees set to start those 2 games, so you can get, maybe 8, maybe 10, maybe 12 innings out of those guys. Shouldn't be too hard to piece it up. McIntyre and Dylan Carter were the only 2 guys that threw today. I would imagine if push came to shove, both of those guys would be available tomorrow. So Zach Root's really the only guy not on that couldn't throw tomorrow. I thought it was interesting that they went with those 2 arms rather than someone like a Cole Gibbler or a Colin Fisher. Makes me think maybe Arkansas would like to use some of those guys in a semi-high leverage spot, although hopefully there is not a high leverage situation where Arkansas could be bringing those guys in tomorrow. But like I said, you have literally everyone available. I mean, Carson Wiggins has not thrown. Aiden Jimenez has not thrown. Christian Fauch has not thrown. Parker Coyle, of course, will not throw, but literally everybody's ready. And so tomorrow you got 14 innings. Make it quick. And we will have the recap here on the Baumbastic Podcast. We're going to try to go live as soon as the action ends tomorrow. First pitch is set for 1 o'clock, and then game 2 of the day, or game 3 of the series, will take place 45 minutes after that. This wound up being about a 3-hour, 7-inning game. I really hope it doesn't take 6 hours to play these games tomorrow, and I hope it's a little bit cleaner than what we saw today. But there's your Baumbastic recap. Again, the Hogs win 21-3. They're very good at baseball. I think we can establish that without a doubt. Looking forward to watching this team play tomorrow. And I'll even say it. I hope Missouri plays better tomorrow. Like, I want Arkansas to win, of course. That's just, the way we do things around here. But I stopped having fun about halfway through this outing today. Let's try to have some composure. Let's have some poise. Let's have some pride in the program, Missouri. Like, let's go out. Let's punch back. I mean, you got guys like me on podcasts ripping you to shreds. Come out and play baseball tomorrow so we can have some fun. Maybe give these guys some adversity, because I don't want the Razorbacks getting too comfortable either. But we'll see how it shakes out. Again, we'll be back with the series recap tomorrow afternoon, or I guess tomorrow night at some point. So be on the lookout for that. Appreciate you guys for always sticking around and always listening to the Baumbastic Podcast, even when the games are crazy like this. So it's been a fun one. It's been another brilliant edition of the Baumbastic Podcast. I will see you guys Sunday night.